For more on those BP numbers and the prospects for shareholders, joining us now is Tim Guinness, Chairman and Chief Investment Officer at Guinness Atkinson Asset Management, whose global energy fund holds shares in BP. Tim, thank you so much for coming in the studio. Now, last time I spoke to you was actually when we announced that when we were telling our viewers that BP and Rosneft had this joint venture. And at the time, you were telling me that actually you were quite comfortable with, your holding in BP, that it was ticking along nicely. It's now increased its dividend. Are you going to increase your shares?
Well, we've just recently put BP into a new fund we've launched, which selects a small group of the stocks we particularly like that we own elsewhere in our portfolios. So the answer is yes.
Yes. Why? Because the dividend has increased? Or?
The share price is now a bit under £5. You can do the maths and you can easily get to £7 for BP without factoring in a recovery in the gas price, without factoring much recovery in refinings.
Tim, the stock price is there down by 1%. I know it's quite difficult actually to look at, the daily moves, but we had a replacement. The replacement production was actually lower than what analysts had expected. Is this worrying at all for you, or is it just a little blip?
It's really, there's a lot of change going on at BP, and I think it's noise.
Okay, so it's positive change in general. We have a new CEO. I know you said you haven't actually met Mr. Dudley, but you know his predecessor very well. You have the full confidence that Mr. Dudley is the right man for the job?
All the things that he's doing appear to make sense. The way he's restructured the management team. I think even the moves in Russia are positive.
Because it's such a... I mean, when you say positive, just because they're taking advantage of huge resources, leaving their competitors behind? Or?
I think what BP have got here, what they've taken, is an option. Now, they may not be able to get this to work for them, but I think there's every chance that they can. And obviously, the prize is quite huge. The resource in the Arctic, that part of the Arctic in Russia, is pretty huge. I mean, the area we're talking about is only just a tiny bit smaller than the North Sea.
Now, the oil shareholders, or the oligarchs,
yes,
were making some noise about this joint venture. Do you think that will just die down, or are you concerned that it will actually have some repercussions?
I hope that it's going to lead to a sorting out of the TNK-BP situation, which I don't think is satisfactory.
Tim, we were just talking about, so Mr. Dudley has your support.
Yes.
Is that fair to say?
That is fair to say.
Is there anything that he could have done differently, or that you would urge him to do now?
No, I think he's doing fine. I suppose the number one thing, if I'd been him, on his agenda is, of course, sorting out their relationships with the American government, and I think he's probably the right man for that job. I think things seem to be getting back on track. People are now appreciating that the Gulf of Mexico spill wasn't such a big deal in terms of the damage it did. I think the compensation is going to, for damage done to businesses is going to come out less than people were estimating a few months ago. Now they've got some worrying times coming up. They've got to negotiate their way through a sort of minefield of dealing with the US authorities and what they're going to be fined. They're obviously going to be fined something, but hopefully it'll be at the lower end of estimates rather than the higher. We'll have to see.
Tim, thank you so much.